It's a very good afternoon. You're watching ZTN News Blitz. Let's take a look at our top stories. Confusion at Beitbridge border post over COVID-19 certificates. Violence against migrant truckers persists in South Africa. Finance Minister given ultimatum to publish AfriZimbank details. And in sport, young warriors aware of Bafana threats. Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa says the judiciary must assist government in fighting corruption. Speaking during the launch of the Judicial Service Commission's 2021 to 2025 strategic plan in Harare, the president said incompetence and corruption will not be tolerated within the JSC's rank and file.
The Judicial Service Commission must equally improve the efficiency of its systems so that all cases of corruption are brought to the courts without delay. The prime importance of our citizens' confidence in the justice system and accountability of judiciary cannot be overemphasized. To this end, I commend the Judicial Service Commission for putting in place anti-corruption mechanisms within the judicial service to enhance transparency and hold its members, including judges and magistrates, accountable.
Chief Justice Luke Malaba said the JSC is always ready to fight graft.
To decisively deal with all cases of corruption that are brought to the courts. At the same time, I wish to assure you, Your Excellency, and all Zimbabweans, that no amount of diversion strategies will detract the Commission from pursuing and dealing with corrupt and incompetent elements within the judiciary and other ranks of the judicial service.
Zimbabwe reopened its borders to the traveling public yesterday after a 7-month closure due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But it appeared most people were caught unawares as they did not read Statutory Instrument 282 of 2020, which requires all travelers to have COVID-19 testing certificates. But the certificates must be from PCR tests. Yesterday, most people had their COVID-19 certificates from rapid tests. Assistant Immigration Officer in charge of Beitbridge, Ngobile speaks to ZTN.
No other form of COVID certificate is being allowed except the PCR. So the enforcement basically is to say the qualification that you require to be able to exit the country, other than the standard requirements, is to have a PCR certificate. We've been liaising with our counterparts on the South African side, and there has been some confusion with some people not being very sure what type of a COVID certificate they should bring about. But guidance should be drawn from what the statutory instrument and the agreed international protocol says. It simply speaks about a PCR COVID certificate, and that's what is the international benchmark of that. So a few of those hiccups have arisen from that, but I believe people have been accordingly guided.
Foreign nationals working in the logistics industry in South Africa say they're being targeted despite meeting the requirements for their jobs. On Monday, over 1,000 truck drivers abandoned their trucks across the country to protest against the employment of foreign drivers. An organization called All Truck Drivers Foundation recently held a violent Truck Drivers Shutdown demonstration, which affected over 300 drivers in Durban. They declared that no foreign truck driver should operate in the country starting in January 2021.
Migrant commercial truck drivers plying most South African routes are under siege. Locals in the region's economic powerhouse have unleashed a reign of terror, accusing them of snatching their jobs while accepting very low wages. The resultant orgy of violence has left many Zambians, Basotho, Zimbabweans, Malawians and Mozambicans, as well as a few others from Asia, either injured or dead. In the past 2 weeks, 30 commercial trucks have been attacked between Johannesburg and Durban. Most trucking companies are now pushing for their drivers to travel during the day, where security will be visibly higher on the roads. Paul January, a Zimbabwean truck driver, wants the SADC region to look into the matter urgently.
Sometimes the gunshots are fired at us. Maybe if the South African government can something to protect a human life.
Patrick Simfukwe from Malawi is still traumatized. He once survived by a whisker.
It's not the way it was before. Now it's worse. More especially we foreigners. I'm a foreigner, as I'm saying. More especially we foreigners. More especially when you go to Durban, is when we experience this issue. They used to stop you when you are in truck stop normally. They used to come on the track, they knock you, okay, fine. They speak in Zulu.
Zimbabwean Brian Munatre, who plies the DRC South Africa route, maintains violence is being meted out on them despite being employed under the same quota for migrant workers.
South Africans avachada foreigners kuti vanga vachityaira mu South Africa nenyaya yekuti vari kuti kutyaira trucks is not a profession. Anyone can do that. Saka ivo vari kuti mudzokerai ichi munotyaira muri kuZimbabwe isityaire trucks mu South Africa.
ZTN understands that in July, 30 local drivers failed the road test at one company in Gauteng, and they eventually gave in to the hiring of 15 Zimbabweans who had passed. South Africa's Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, described the wave of violence as criminal.
Any form of attack, regardless of the cause, is criminality. It can't be allowed. The problem we're having is that there's been a lot of finger pointing between the trucking industry and the truck drivers and the truck driver organizations.
Beitbridge Border Post is the busiest inland port of entry in the SADC region, with statistics showing 1,400 people passing through daily.
Zimbabwe's Finance Minister Professor Mthuli Ncube has been ordered by the High Court to publish terms and conditions of all loans and guarantees concluded by the government with the African Export and Import Bank or any other international financiers from January 2017 to 1st of December 2020. In his ruling, High Court Judge Justice Hapias Zhou said this should be published in an extraordinary government gazette by January 30th, 2021. The lawyers who represented Rusty Markham and Community Water Alliance are Denford Halimani and Trust Mnangagwa of the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights. One of the lawyers, Denford Halimani, spoke to ZTN.
We were instructed by Alan Markham and Community Water Alliance Trust to institute a court application to compel the Minister of Finance and the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe to basically comply with the law in terms of publishing terms of loans and guarantees that the government of Zimbabwe might have concluded in favor of the African Export-Import Bank, which was cited as the third respondent. And so we went to court on that basis, the basis that the Minister of Finance and the Reserve Bank had actually failed to comply with the terms of the Constitution.
It turns out you don't need a complex algorithm to win the lotto. 20 people won the South African Powerball jackpot last night with the winning numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and the bonus ball 10. 20 people had the exact same number, meaning 5.6 million rand will be shared between the 20. Twitter users went crazy over this, with many expressing disbelief of how a simple sequence of numbers could be the jackpot. The United Kingdom has become the first country to officially approve a coronavirus vaccine. The United Kingdom's Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency signed off the vaccine. Pfizer announced on November 23rd that preliminary results showed that its vaccine was 95% effective. Pfizer's vaccine is the result of new mRNA technology, which uses genetic material to stimulate the immune system to protect against coronavirus infection. The regulatory approval in the UK marks a milestone for Pfizer. And with that, we move now to sports, where Zimbabwe's young warriors are going against the grain when they face South Africa in their opening game of the COSAFA Under-20 tournament in South Africa. Coach Tonderai Ndiraya is aware of what awaits them as they plunge into battle at the Wolfson Stadium. It's now serious business for Zimbabwe's high-profile netball player Felicitas Kwangwa. The Gems captain has begun training with her teammates at English Vitality Super League Surrey Storm. Kwangwa has to endure a 14-day mandatory isolation, which ended last week. She spoke to ZTN saying she couldn't wait for her new challenge. This week, she was part of the team's preparations ahead of the 2021 season after the 2020 season was forfeited. As of next year, the Schumacher name will be back in Formula One. Mick Schumacher, son of seven-time world champion Michael, will race for Haas alongside Nikita Mazepin in an all-new lineup, replacing Kevin Magnussen and Romain Grosjean. Schumacher's arrival in Formula One has been anticipated for several years as he's moved through the ranks in junior categories and picked up race victories. And with that, we come to the end of ZTN News Blitz. Thanks for watching.